The boot connects before Kai registers movement. Not a push. Not an accident. A deliberate kick to the shin. Hard enough that his knee buckles, soft enough that no bone cracks. The pain blooms sharp and immediate, radiating up his leg as his body lurches sideways. His hand flies to his stomach. Instinct. Protection. A movement he's trained himself not to make in public. But it's too late. The mall noise. Vendors shouting weekend deals, children shrieking near the fountain. The tinny pop music bleeding from speakers. All of it thins into something quieter. Not silence. Just enough hush for attention to pivot. Eyes turn. Kai straightens slowly, fingers falling away from his abdomen like they've been burned. His jaw locks. His scent, carefully controlled for the past 6 months, doesn't leak even a whisper of panic into the recycled air. Move, the alpha says, brushing past as if Kai were furniture. You're in the way. The alpha doesn't look back, doesn't recognize him. Why would he? 3 years is a long time to forget someone you never valued in the first place. Kai steps aside. His leg throbs. The crowd pretends not to stare while absolutely staring. Omega's clutching shopping bags closer. Alpha's assessing whether intervention is worth the social cost. Teenagers filming on phones they think are subtle. No one helps. That's fine. Kai stopped expecting help the day he signed dissolution papers in a lawyer's office that smelled like old coffee and defeat. He exhales through his nose, slow and measured. The baby shifts inside him. A flutter, not a kick yet, and Kai resists the urge to press his palm there again. Not here. Not where people can see and make assumptions about vulnerability. The alpha who kicked him laughs with his companions near the luxury watch store. Expensive suit. Overconfident posture. The kind of alpha who thinks dominance is performance art. Kai knows that type intimately. He used to love one. His phone buzzes in his pocket. He doesn't check it. Rin doesn't text unless something is wrong, and if something were wrong, the city would already know. Instead, Kai adjusts the collar of his shirt, a nervous habit he's never broken, and starts toward the exit. His leg aches with each step, a reminder that humiliation always leaves bruises even when skin stays intact. Behind him, the alpha's voice carries. Did you see his face? Omegas these days act like the world owes them space. Kai doesn't turn around. He learned this lesson in Blood and Broken Bonds. Engaging with cruelty only invites more of it. But as he reaches the escalator, the air shifts. It's subtle. A change in pressure, maybe, or the way sound moves differently when something large displaces it. The mall's ambient noise doesn't stop, but it reorganizes. Conversations taper. Footsteps slow. Kai's instincts, honed by years of survival, prickle at the base of his neck. He glances over his shoulder. The crowd near the fountain is parting. Not dramatically, not with shouts or alarms. Just a quiet, instinctive yielding the way water moves around a stone. Black suits. No insignia. No raised voices. Security. Not mall security. His security. Kai's heart kicks once, hard, against his ribs. He didn't tell Ren where he was going. Didn't want to worry him over something as mundane as picking up vitamins and avoiding the penthouse's suffocating luxury for an hour. But alphas like Ren don't need explanations. They sense disruption the way sharks sense blood. Kai turns back to the escalator, but his hand drifts, unconsciously, dangerously, to the thin band of ink at the base of his neck. Usually hidden, usually safe beneath fabric. Today, his collar shifted when he fell. Today, someone might have seen. The alpha who kicked him is still laughing, back turned, oblivious to the way the mall is quietly rearranging itself around a power he doesn't yet understand. Kai exhales. You should have looked closer, he thinks. You should have asked who I belong to now. But regret is a luxury predators rarely afford themselves until teeth close around their throats. The escalator hums beneath Kai's feet, carrying him down while everything behind him begins to rise. Have you ever been invisible to someone who once claimed to love you? Have you ever realized, too late, that silence isn't weakness but strategy? Keep reading, because what happens next isn't revenge. It's reckoning. 3 years earlier, Kai learned what it meant to be erased. Not killed. Not mourned. Just forgotten. The bond broke on a Tuesday. Signed papers in a lawyer's office. No screaming. No pleading. Just his alpha's signature, sharp and efficient, followed by words that tasted like rust. You were always going to be temporary. Kai didn't cry until he reached the street. By then, it didn't matter. The city had already moved on. Syndicate alphas didn't waste time on unmated omegas with no family, no pack, no leverage. He was a footnote in someone else's story. A mistake corrected. He left with a duffel bag, $300, and a heartbeat he didn't yet know was doubled. The pregnancy revealed itself 6 weeks later in a gas station bathroom 200 miles north. Kai stared at the test. 2 lines, stark and undeniable, and felt the world tilt sideways. He could have gone back. Could have used the pregnancy as leverage, as proof of worth, as a reason to be kept. But Kai had learned something essential in the years he'd spent trying to be enough. You cannot negotiate your value with someone who's already decided you have none. So he didn't go back. He disappeared. Not into hiding. Into motion. Coastal cities with gray skies and iron laws. Territories where the mafia kings ruled from glass towers and bloodlines ran deep. Where omegas were either owned or protected, never ignored, never invisible. Kai didn't plan to be noticed. He took a job cleaning offices after midnight. Wore scent blockers that burned his skin. Kept his head down. His belly hidden beneath oversized jackets. His future compressed into the singular goal of survive until birth. That was the plan. Survive. Deliver. Disappear again if necessary. But fate, Kai learned, is rarely gentle with omegas who endure. The night everything changed. Kai was standing outside a clinic in the rain, shaking so hard his teeth chattered. Complication. Bleeding. Not enough money for the procedure, too much pride to beg. He didn't hear the car pull up. Didn't notice the alpha watching from behind tinted glass. Didn't realize he'd been seen until a voice low, even colder than the rain, said, "You're in pain." Kai looked up. The alpha was tall. Dark-haired. Expensively dressed in a way that suggested violence lived comfortably beneath silk. His eyes were the gray of a winter ocean. Distant, calculating, devoid of warmth. But not cruel. "I'm fine," Kai lied. Because admitting weakness to an alpha he didn't know was a death sentence in territories like this. The alpha's gaze dropped, briefly, clinically, to where Kai's hand pressed against his stomach. "No," the alpha said. "You're not." Kai should have run. Instead, he fainted. He woke in a private medical suite, for in his arm, monitors beeping steadily. The alpha sat in a chair by the window, backlit by city lights, reading something on his phone. "Who are you?" Kai whispered. The alpha looked up. "Ren," he said. "And you're under my protection now. How many times have you survived something that should have broken you? How many times did you stand in the rain, alone, waiting for someone to see you?" Kai stopped waiting, and that's when everything changed. Keep reading. Ren's reputation arrived before he did. In the coastal territories, his name wasn't spoken, it was invoked. Whispered in syndicate meetings. Referenced in contracts. Used as a warning to anyone stupid enough to challenge the hierarchy. Cross him and you don't get a second chance. He was one of the mafia kings. Not the loudest. Not the cruelest. But the most absolute. When Ren made a decision, the world rearranged itself to accommodate. Kai learned this within 12 hours of waking in that medical suite. The doctor, a calm, older beta, explained the complications with clinical efficiency. Stress, malnutrition, scent blocker toxicity. "You're lucky someone brought you in," she said, adjusting his four. "Another hour, and we'd be having a very different conversation." Kai didn't ask who paid for it. He already knew. Ren visited twice that first day. Once in the morning, silent, checking monitors with the focus of someone used to managing assets. Once in the evening, carrying food Kai didn't remember requesting but somehow exactly matched what he could stomach. "You don't have to stay," Kai said on the second visit, because alphas like Ren didn't waste time on charity. Ren set the food down. I'm not staying out of obligation. Then why? Ren's gray eyes settled on him. Because you didn't ask for help. And people who don't ask are usually the ones who need it most. Kai didn't know what to do with that. The doctors discharged him 3 days later with instructions to rest, eat properly, and avoid stress. All things impossible for someone with no home and no pack. Ren met him at the exit. I have a proposal, he said. Kai tensed. Proposals from powerful alphas always came with strings. Ownership, control, expectations he'd failed to meet. But Ren pulled out a single sheet of paper. A contract. Not a bond. You stay in a property I own. Security provided. Medical care covered. No expectation of anything. Kai stared at the document. Why would you do this? Because you're vulnerable, Ren said plainly. And I don't tolerate cruelty done loudly in my territory. I'm not in your territory. You are now. The words weren't possessive. They were factual. A statement of geography and consequence. Kai should have refused. Should have recognized the trap, the debt, the inevitable moment when Ren would call in the favor. But his baby shifted inside him, small, fragile, entirely dependent on decisions Kai made with incomplete information. What happens when you get bored of charity? Kai asked. Ren's expression didn't change. I don't get bored of things I commit to. Kai signed the contract. The apartment Ren provided wasn't an apartment. It was a penthouse. 3 floors, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking the ocean. Security so seamless Kai didn't see it until he tried to leave and found guards who nodded respectfully but didn't move. Am I a prisoner? He asked Ren that night. You're protected, Ren corrected. There's a difference. Kai wanted to argue, but exhaustion won. He slept for 16 hours straight. When he woke, Ren was sitting in the living room, working on a laptop. He didn't look up when Kai entered, but he spoke. There's food in the kitchen. The doctor will check on you this afternoon. I didn't ask for this. I know. I'm pregnant, Kai blurted, because the secret was corroding him from the inside, with someone else's child, and he doesn't know, and I don't want him to know. So if this, he gestured at the penthouse, is some kind of investment in a bonded Omega, you should know I'm not. I know, Ren interrupted quietly. Kai froze. You know. The doctor told me, confidentially. Ren finally looked up, and his gray eyes were unreadable. Does that change your situation? Doesn't it change yours? Kai shot back. I'm carrying another alphas. You're carrying a child who deserves safety, Ren said. The genetics are irrelevant. Kai felt something crack open in his chest. Not love, not trust, but the faint, dangerous beginning of hope. Why are you doing this? He whispered. Ren closed his laptop. Because 3 years ago, someone should have protected you, he said. And they didn't. I'm correcting that error. That night, Kai cried for the first time since leaving the city. Not from grief, from relief. When was the last time someone protected you without asking for anything in return? When was the last time safety felt real, not transactional? Kai didn't believe it either. Not yet. But belief is built in moments like these. Keep reading. The bond formed quietly, not dramatically, not with claiming bites or public declarations. It grew in the spaces between words, in Ren's hand steadying Kai's elbow when dizziness struck, in the way he rearranged his schedule around doctor's appointments he never mentioned attending, in the way Kai stopped flinching when Ren entered a room. 5 months into the pregnancy, Kai woke to find Ren sitting on the balcony at 3 a.m., staring at the city like it owed him answers. Can't sleep? Kai asked, stepping outside. Thinking, Ren said. About? Ren glanced at him. How to ensure you're safe after the birth. Kai's stomach tightened. You're sending me away. No. Ren's voice was firm. I'm making sure no one can touch you. Legally, socially, physically. Why does that require 3 a.m. thinking? Ren hesitated. For the first time since they'd met, he looked uncertain. Because the only permanent solution is a bond. And I won't ask that of you. Kai's breath caught. You're already protecting me, he said carefully. Protection without legal standing is temporary, Ren replied. The moment you're no longer under this roof, you're vulnerable again. Your ex could make claims. Other alphas could challenge custody. I can't stop that without bonding me. Yes. Silence stretched between them. And if I said yes? Kai asked quietly. Ren's gaze sharpened. I'd want you to mean it. Not as payment. Not as obligation. As choice. Kai looked out at the city. The same city that had forgotten him, that had taught him love was leverage and survival meant invisibility. I choose safety, he said finally. I choose my child having a future. If that means bonding you. He met Ren's eyes. Then I choose you. The bond ceremony was private. No witnesses. No announcement. Just a mark at the base of Kai's neck. Thin, black, elegant, and legal documents filed quietly through channels Kai didn't ask about. The marriage became official 6 weeks before the due date. Ren never demanded intimacy, never claimed rights. The bond existed on paper and skin, but he treated Kai like someone still deciding whether to trust him. And slowly, carefully, Kai did. When this is over, Kai said one evening, watching the sunset from the penthouse. When the baby is born and safe, you don't have to keep me. Ren looked at him. Is that what you think this is? Temporary? I don't know what this is. Ren stepped closer. Didn't touch. Just existed in the same space with a certainty that felt like gravity. This, he said quietly, is permanent, if you'll have it. Kai's hand drifted to his stomach, then to the mark on his neck. I'll have it, he whispered. For the first time in 3 years, Kai believed in futures. Have you ever chosen safety over romance and found something more real than either? Have you ever trusted someone who asked for nothing and gave everything? This is what protection looks like when it's not a cage. Keep reading. Back in the mall, the purple-haired alpha doesn't notice when the crowd begins to move. He's too busy laughing, loud, performative, recounting the kick to his companions like it's a joke worth repeating. Should have seen his face. Omegas always think. Dude. One of his friends interrupts, voice dropping. Security. The alpha glances up, annoyed. Mall security? Who cares? Not mall security. The suits are black. Expensive. The kind that don't wrinkle even after hours of wear. 4 of them positioned at cardinal points around the food court. They're not rushing, not shouting, not even looking directly at anyone. But the crowd knows. Shoppers veer away from certain paths. Alphas lower their voices mid-conversation. Even the children near the fountain quiet, sensing something old and predatory has entered the space. The purple-haired alpha frowns. The hell is this? His companion, a beta with better survival instincts, grabs his arm. We should go. Why? I didn't do anything. Look. He follows the beta's gaze. The Omega he kicked is standing near the escalator. Still, calm. One hand resting on the railing, the other adjusting his collar. And that's when the alpha sees it. The mark. Thin, black, elegant. Placed exactly where a bond mark should be. At the base of the neck, just visible above the shirt's edge. The alpha's stomach drops. No, he breathes. That's not. But it is. Everyone who matters in the coastal territories knows that mark. Knows who it belongs to. Knows what it means to touch someone bearing it. Oh fuck. His companion whispers. Oh fuck. You kicked Ren's Omega. The alpha's face drains of color. I didn't know. Doesn't matter. And it doesn't. Because at that moment, the mall's ambient noise shifts again. Not into silence, but into something worse. Anticipation. The guards aren't moving. They're waiting. The alpha turns, scanning for exits. The crowd has thickened without him noticing, bodies packed just close enough that running would mean shoving through witnesses. And running now, after the mark has been seen, would be an admission. His hands start to shake. Maybe he won't come, he says, voice cracking. Maybe it's just security doing rounds. The main entrance doors open. No announcement. No fanfare. Just a shift in air pressure, the way atmospheres change before storms. Ren walks in like he owns the building. Dark suit, unhurried stride, expression carved from stone. His presence doesn't demand attention. It commands it, stripping away pretense and leaving only the hierarchy that actually matters. The crowd parts, not in fear, in respect. 2 more guards flank him, but Ren doesn't need them. His reputation precedes him by 30 feet and 3 years of unbroken enforcement. He doesn't scan the crowd. He doesn't need to. His gaze goes directly to Kai, still standing by the escalator, and something in Ren's expression, microscopic, barely there, softens. Then his eyes cut to the purple-haired alpha, and go cold. The alpha tries to speak. Listen, if there's a problem. Ren stops 10 feet away, doesn't raise his voice, doesn't threaten, just asks one question, calm and even directed at Kai. Did he touch you? The mall holds its breath. Kai meets Ren's eyes, and answers. Have you ever watched someone realize, too late, that the person they underestimated holds their entire future in one hand? Have you ever seen power that doesn't need to shout? Justice is coming, and it wears a suit. Keep reading, because what happens next isn't violence. It's erasure. Yes, Kai says. He kicked me. The words land like stones in still water. No drama, no tears, just truth, spoken with the calm of someone who's learned that emotion is a luxury predator's exploit. Ren doesn't move, doesn't react. But something shifts in the air around him. A tightening, like atmosphere before lightning strikes. The purple-haired alpha laughs. It sounds wrong, desperate. Look, I didn't know he was with anyone. You didn't ask, Ren says quietly. I mean, he was just standing there, in a public space, doing nothing. I didn't know he was pregnant. The mall goes silent, completely, unnaturally silent. Even the fountain stops mid-gurgle, its timer coincidentally resetting. The moment stretches, crystallizes, becomes the kind of silence that people will remember years later when they tell this story. Because Ren didn't say Kai was pregnant. The alpha did, which means he noticed, saw the protective hand over the abdomen, registered the vulnerability, and kicked anyway. Ren's expression doesn't change, but his hand, still resting at the small of Kai's back, presses slightly firmer, grounding, protective, a silent promise that Kai feels through fabric and skin. You saw, Ren says, not a question, a statement carved from ice. The alpha's face flushes. I didn't mean it wasn't. You saw an Omega protecting his stomach, and you kicked him. It was just, the alpha's voice cracks. Just a nudge, man, it wasn't serious. Ren finally looks away from Kai. His gray eyes settle on the alpha with the weight of a judge pronouncing sentence. What's your name? Ren asks. The alpha hesitates. Giving a name to someone like Ren is permission. It's access. It's the difference between being forgotten and being remembered. Marcus, he says finally, because lying would be worse. Marcus, Ren repeats, as if testing how the name sounds in his mouth. Then he pulls out his phone. Doesn't unlock it. Just holds it, a promise of action not yet taken. Do you know who I am? Marcus nods. His hands shake. Then you know I don't make threats. Ren continues. I make observations. And here's what I observe. You assaulted my bonded Omega in public. You endangered a pregnancy. You did this loudly, with witnesses, in a territory I protect. I didn't know. That's not a defense. Ren's voice drops lower, colder. Ignorance is just carelessness with consequences. The guards shift position. Not closer, just present. A reminder that exits are theoretical. Kai watches Marcus's scent change. Adrenaline giving way to fear, sharp and acrid. He should feel satisfaction, vindication. The sweet rush of seeing someone who hurt him finally face consequences. But he doesn't. He just feels tired. Ren, Kai says quietly. Ren's attention shifts immediately. Are you hurt? No. Kai searches for the word. I'm done. Can we just go? It's a test. A question disguised as a request. Will you stop for me? Or will you finish this because your pride demands it? Ren studies him for a long moment. Then he turns back to Marcus. You're very lucky, Ren says, that my Omega is kinder than I am. He pockets his phone. Doesn't make a call. Doesn't issue orders. But the guards understand anyway. We have his name. One of them says quietly to Ren. And footage. Ren nods once. Then he guides Kai toward the exit, hand never leaving his back. The crowd parts like water, smooth and instinctive. No one speaks. No one films now. Phones have vanished, survival instincts overriding the urge to document. Behind them, Marcus exhales. Too soon. Because Ren pauses at the exit. Doesn't turn around. Just speaks loud enough to carry. I'm not going to touch you, Marcus. I don't need to. His voice is conversational. Almost kind. But in 12 hours, every syndicate in the coastal territories will know your name. They'll know what you did. And they'll make their own decisions about whether someone who kicks pregnant Omegas in public is worth protecting. Ren opens the door for Kai. Good luck, he adds. You'll need it. They leave. The mall stays silent for another 30 seconds. Then the whispers start. Marcus stands frozen, watching the doors close. His friends have already stepped away. Physical distance that signals social separation. No one wants to be associated with someone Ren has named. It was just a kick, Marcus whispers to no one. But everyone knows better. In a world ruled by hierarchy and reputation, there's no such thing as just anything. Not when it's done to someone who belongs to a king. Marcus's phone buzzes. Then again. Then doesn't stop. Messages. Calls. Notifications stacking up like a digital avalanche. He opens the first one. Your contract has been terminated. Effective immediately. He opens the second. Access to the exchange has been revoked. Don't reapply. The third doesn't require opening. The sender name says everything. Dad. Marcus sits down on the mall bench, legs suddenly unable to hold him. The fountain starts flowing again. Life continues. Just not for him. Have you ever watched someone's entire world collapse in real time? Not through violence, but through the simple withdrawal of protection. Have you ever realized that power isn't what you can do to someone, but what you can make everyone else stop doing for them? This is what justice looks like when it's absolute. Keep reading. The car ride back to the penthouse is silent. Not uncomfortable. Just still. Kai watches the city slide past. Gray buildings, ocean glimpses, the territories Ren controls without ever raising his voice. His leg still aches where the kick landed. Not badly, just enough to remember. You didn't have to stop, Kai says finally. Ren's eyes stay on the road. You asked me to. But you wanted to finish it. What I wanted, Ren says carefully, was to remove him from existence. What you needed was to go home. Those aren't the same thing. Kai looks down at his hands. At the thin band on his finger that matches the mark on his neck. I'm not used to that. Used to what? Someone choosing what I need over what they want. Ren's jaw tightens. Not in anger. In something that looks like pain. Then you've been around the wrong alphas. They drive in silence for another few minutes. What happens now? Kai asks. To Marcus. Do you want details? Or do you want plausible deniability? Kai considers this. Details. Ren merges onto the coastal highway. Within the hour, his professional contracts will be terminated. He worked in syndicate finance, low level but enough to matter. That access is gone. By tonight, his social invitations will dry up. Alphas protect their own until that protection becomes a liability. He's a liability now. Because you said so. Because he proved it in public. Ren glances at him. I didn't invent his crime, Kai. I just made sure everyone else saw it clearly. And if he tries to fight back? With what? Ren's voice is flat. Money he can't access? Allies who've already distanced themselves? A reputation I've just shredded in front of 200 witnesses. He shakes his head. The fight was over the moment he touched you. He just didn't know it yet. Kai absorbs this. Not with horror. Not with glee. Just with the quiet understanding that this is what protection looks like when wielded by someone who means it. You could have hurt him, Kai says. Physically. You wanted to. Yes. Why didn't you? Rin pulls into the private garage beneath the penthouse. Kills the engine. Turns to face Kai fully for the first time since they left the mall. Because you deserved better than watching me become the kind of alpha who uses fists when words suffice. His gray eyes are steady, honest. And because our child will ask about this someday, I want the answer to be, your father protected you the way civilized people do, with consequences, not cruelty. Kai's breath catches. Our child. Not your pregnancy. Not the Omega's burden. Ours. Come on, Rin says, opening his door. You need to rest. The doctor wants to check you after everything. Kai follows him inside, hand drifting to his stomach where the baby shifts, safe and unaware of the empire that just rearranged itself for its protection. By morning, Marcus's name will be a cautionary tale. By next week, he'll be forgotten. But Kai will remember, not the kick. The moment someone fought for him without asking what he was worth first. When was the last time someone protected you without making it about their ego? When was the last time justice felt like safety instead of revenge? This is what it means to be valued, not for what you give, but for who you are. Keep reading, because the real threat hasn't arrived yet. 3 weeks later, Kai stands on the penthouse balcony at sunset, watching the city turn gold. His hand rests on his stomach. No longer a secret, no longer hidden. 7 months now. Obvious. Undeniable. The baby kicks regularly. A rhythm Kai has learned to read like Morse code. I'm here. I'm safe. I'm yours. The door opens behind him. Rin doesn't announce himself. He never does. Just appears in Kai's peripheral vision. Carrying 2 mugs of tea, he's somehow learned to make exactly the way Kai prefers. You're supposed to be resting, Rin says, handing him a mug. I'm standing. That's basically resting. The doctor said. The doctor says a lot of things. Kai sips the tea. Perfect temperature. I'm fine. They stand in silence, watching the ocean darken from blue to black. Do you ever think about him? Kai asks quietly. Marcus. No. Liar. Ren's mouth twitches. Almost a smile. I think about whether he's learned anything. If humiliation taught him what empathy couldn't. And I doubt it. People like him don't learn. They just get quieter about their cruelty. Kai considers this. You removed him from your territory. I removed his protection. He's still here. Just irrelevant. Rin glances at him. Does that bother you? I don't know. Kai's hand moves over his stomach, feeling the baby shift. I keep thinking about what could have happened if I hadn't been bonded to you, if I'd been alone, if he'd kicked harder. But you weren't alone. I was, though, for years. And people like Marcus existed then too. I just didn't have anyone to. He stops, regroups. I survived by being invisible, by not mattering enough to target. Run sets his mug down on the balcony railing, turns to face Kai fully. You matter now, he says. To me, to the territory, to our child. Our child. Kai still isn't used to hearing that. To the possessive plural that includes him in the equation without subtracting his autonomy. What happens when they're born? Kai asks. To us. To this. He gestures between them. The bond that started as survival and became something neither of them have named yet. Rin doesn't answer immediately. He looks out at the city, at the territory he rules with quiet absolutism, and something in his expression softens. I want to be their father, he says finally. Not just legally. Actually, bedtime stories, school events, teaching them how to be strong without being cruel. He pauses. But only if that's what you want. And if I said no, then I'd still protect you both. Still make sure you had everything you needed. Still ensure no one ever touched you without consequences. Ren meets his eyes. But I'd do it from a distance. Because you deserve choice, Kai. Even in this. The baby kicks hard enough that Kai winces. Ren notices immediately. Are you? I'm fine. Kai catches Ren's hand, presses it to his stomach where the movement is strongest. Feel that. Ren's expression transforms. Wonder replaces calculation. His hand spreads wide, reverent, as the baby kicks again. They're strong, Ren whispers. They'd have to be, Kai says. They're ours. Ren looks up, and something in his gray eyes finally cracks open. Not control. Devotion. Yes, he says. They are. Below them, the city lights begin to flicker on. Somewhere out there, Marcus is learning what it means to be forgotten. But up here, in the warmth of the penthouse, a family is learning what it means to be whole. Have you ever felt someone choose you, not because they had to, not because you earned it, but because you existed and that was enough? Have you ever built something worth protecting from the ashes of what broke you? This is what healing looks like. But healing requires safety. And safety is about to be tested. Keep reading. The threat comes 2 days before Kai's due date. Not dramatic. Not violent. Just a message forwarded through Ren's security. Marcus has been making inquiries about paternity claims. Kai is in the nursery when Ren tells him, folding tiny clothes that still feel impossibly small in his hands. Claims? Kai repeats. He doesn't even know. He knows you were bonded to someone before me, Ren says carefully, and he's smart enough to do the math on the pregnancy timeline. Kai sits down heavily in the rocking chair. His due date is close enough now that standing for too long makes his back ache. He can't actually think. He's desperate. Desperation makes people stupid. Ren crouches in front of him, hands gentle on Kai's knees. But he can't do anything. Legally, biologically, socially, he has no claim. You're bonded to me. The child will be registered as mine. But what if? There is no what if. Ren's voice is firm. I won't let him near you, near our child. He's already been removed from the territory once. If he tries to return, he'll face more than social consequences. Kai looks down at the onesie in his hands. Pale blue, soft, purchased by Ren 3 weeks ago during a shopping trip where he'd spent 20 minutes debating thread counts with the kind of focus he usually reserved for syndicate negotiations. I don't want you to hurt him, Kai says quietly. I know. But I also don't want him anywhere near our family. I know that too. They sit in silence. Kai's hand drifting to his stomach where the baby has gone still. Sleeping, probably, in the way they do more frequently now as space runs out. What do we do? Kai asks. Ren stands, pulls out his phone, and makes a call. It lasts 30 seconds. When he hangs up, his expression is calm. Resolved. I've arranged a meeting, he says. Neutral ground. Witnesses present. Marcus will have a chance to make his case. And then you'll tell him the truth. And he'll leave. Permanently. The meeting happens in a syndicate conference room. Glass walls. Recording equipment. Legal representatives present but silent. Marcus arrives looking worse than Kai remembers. Thinner. Shadows under his eyes. The kind of wear that comes from 3 weeks of social exile. He doesn't meet Kai's gaze. You wanted to talk, Ren says, voice neutral. Talk. Marcus clears his throat. I need to know. The child. Is it? No, Kai says. Marcus blinks. You don't even know what I know what you're going to ask. And the answer is no. Kai's voice is steady. Not angry. Not afraid. Just final. Biologically, maybe. I don't know. I don't care. But that child. He places a hand over his stomach. They're Ren's. They've been Ren's since the moment he found me in the rain and offered protection without asking for anything in return. But I have rights. You have nothing, Kai interrupts. You kicked me in a mall. You endangered this pregnancy. You saw I was vulnerable and you hurt me anyway. His voice doesn't rise. Doesn't need to. You don't get to decide you want to be a parent after spending 3 weeks trying to figure out how to weaponize a child for social rehabilitation. Marcus's face flushes. That's not. It is. Kai leans forward. And here's what's going to happen. You're going to leave this city. You're going to sign every termination document Ren's lawyers put in front of you. And you're never going to contact me, or my child, or anyone in this territory again. And if I refuse? Ren doesn't move, doesn't speak. He doesn't have to. The silence is answer enough. Marcus looks between them. Kai, visibly pregnant and utterly unmoved. Ran, still as stone and twice as unyielding. Fine, Marcus whispers. Fine. He signs the papers. 30 minutes later, he's gone. Kai exhales slowly, feeling tension drain from his shoulders for the first time in 3 weeks. It's over, Ren says quietly. Kai nods. It's over. Have you ever had to face someone who hurt you and choose to close the door instead of burning the house down? Have you ever realized that the best revenge is living well? This is what power looks like when it's yours, not borrowed. One more chapter. Keep reading. Because this story doesn't end with conflict. It ends with choice. The baby arrives on a Tuesday. Not dramatically. Not dangerously. Just arrives the way babies do when their time comes and the world has to rearrange itself to accommodate new life. Kai holds her for the first time in a hospital room that smells like antiseptic and possibility. She's impossibly small. 10 fingers, 10 toes, dark hair that might lighten, might not. Gray eyes that might change, might stay. She doesn't look like anyone yet. Just herself. She's perfect, Rin says, voice rough with something Kai's never heard before. Not power. Not control. Awe. She is, Kai agrees. They name her Emira. Old dialect. Means strength. 3 months later, Kai stands in the same mall where everything changed. Not hiding. Not afraid. Just existing. Emira strapped to his chest in a carrier, sleeping peacefully against his heartbeat. Ren beside him, carrying shopping bags he insists on managing despite Kai's protests that he's perfectly capable. People notice. Of course they notice. The king and his Omega. The child everyone whispered about. The scandal that never materialized because Ren's will is absolute and his protection even more so. But no one approaches. Not in fear. In respect. There's a difference. You're smiling, Ren observes as they pass the fountain. The same fountain where the crowd once gathered to watch Kai's humiliation. I'm remembering, Kai says. Bad memory to smile at. No. Kai adjusts Emira's blanket. Good memory. Because it's the day everything started to get better. They walk through the mall like any other family. No guards shadowing them, not visibly anyway. No spectacle. Just a Tuesday afternoon trip for necessities. Near the luxury watch store, Kai pauses. This is the spot. Where Marcus stood. Where the kick happened. Where public humiliation bloomed like blood in water. Are you all right? Ren asks quietly. Kai looks down at Emira. At her peaceful face, unaware of the violence that almost touched her before she was even born. At the life she'll grow into, protected, valued, safe. I'm better than all right, Kai says. Because that's the truth. Marcus is gone. Relocated to a northern territory where Ren's influence is minimal but his reputation still carries. He's not suffering. Not destroyed. Just removed. Irrelevant. Kai doesn't think about him anymore. Doesn't wonder if he's learned anything. Doesn't care if he regrets his choices. The best revenge, Kai learned, isn't destruction. It's building something so beautiful that the person who hurt you becomes a footnote in your origin story. A minor obstacle. A moment you survived and then transcended. Do you ever wonder? Ren asks, reading his thoughts the way he's learned to do. Who you would have been if you'd stayed? Kai considers this. If he'd stayed with his ex-alpha. If he'd begged for scraps of affection. If he'd raised Emira alone. Invisible, always looking over his shoulder for the next kick that would come without warning. No, he says finally. Because that person doesn't exist. I'm this person. The one who left. Who survived. Who built something they could never touch. Ren's hand finds the small of his back. Familiar. Grounding. I'm glad you left, he says quietly. So am I. They continue through the mall. Past the shops. past the crowd, past the place where humiliation once lived. Emmer awakes, stretches, makes a small sound of contentment. Kai kisses the top of her head. Below them, the city continues. Syndicate politics, alpha posturing. Omega's still learning what safety means. But up here, in the space Kai has carved for himself through silence, survival, and the radical choice to accept protection when it was offered freely, life is different. Better. That night, on the penthouse balcony, Kai watches the city lights while Emmer sleeps in Ren's arms. "What are you thinking?" Ren asks. Kai smiles. "I'm thinking I used to believe survival meant being invisible," he says. "That safety required silence. That power was something other people had and I could only borrow. And now," Kai looks at his daughter, at his alpha, at the life he's built from the ruins of what broke him. "Now I know better," he says, "because power isn't noise. It's the quiet certainty that when someone tries to kick you down, the world itself will rise in your defense. Not because you demanded it, because you're worth it, and you always were. You made it to the end." You watched Kai transform from invisible to undeniable, from victim to victor, not through revenge, through choice, through survival, through the radical act of accepting that he deserved protection without earning it first. If the story meant something to you, if you've ever felt invisible, kicked down, forgotten, share it, because somewhere someone needs to know. You don't have to scream to be heard. You just have to survive long enough to build something they can't touch. And when you do, the world rearranges itself. Not because you demanded it, because you're worth it. You always were.